What's the point of trying if no matter what you do, things are falling apart? Every time you try, you fail. You try again, and you're hit with setback after setback. It starts to mess with your head. After a while, it can feel like nothing you do really matters. That feeling? That's something called learned helplessness, a psychological state where you feel like you've got no control over what happens to you. Once that mindset takes hold, it's easy to stop chasing goals, stop going after new chances, maybe even stop dreaming a little. And the worst part? It can make you feel seriously depressed. But here's the thing. You don't have to stay stuck in that mindset. One powerful way to move forward is by using something called the locus rule, or the idea of shifting your locus of control. Your locus of control is simply where you believe control over your life comes from. If you have an external locus of control, you believe that outside forces like luck, fate, or other people decide what happened to you. If you have an internal locus of control, you believe that your own choices and actions make the biggest difference. When you have an external focus, it's easy to feel helpless because it seems like you're at the mercy of things you can't change. But when you turn your focus inward and start believing that your actions matter, you begin to feel stronger and more motivated. You realize that even small choices you make every day can add up to big changes over time. The first step is to notice when you're falling into helpless thinking. Pay attention to the moments when you catch yourself believing that nothing you do will help. Once you notice it, you can start to change it. Think about times when your efforts did make a difference, even in small ways. Remind yourself that change usually happens little by little, not all at once. Taking small actions you can control is another important step. When you get a tiny goal and accomplish it, you prove to yourself that your actions do matter. Every small success builds your confidence and weakens the old belief that you're powerless. It also helps to talk with people you trust. Sometimes just hearing someone else's perspective can remind you that you have more strength and control than you realize. As you start taking back control through small actions and supportive conversations, it becomes just as important to look at how you think about challenges you face. Feeling more in control isn't just about what you do. It's also about how you explain things to yourself when life gets tough. If you want to feel more in control of your life and stay motivated, one of the most important things you can do is learn how to shift the way you think about challenges. It starts with noticing when your mind is falling into negative patterns. Sometimes when something bad happens, you might think that it will last forever, that it will affect everything in your life, or that it's all your fault. For example, if you fail a test, you might think, I'm just bad at school and I'll never get better. This kind of thinking doesn't just suck, it keeps you stuck. Once you notice these negative thoughts, the next step is to question them. You can ask yourself if what you're thinking is really true, or if you're just making assumptions. You can look for evidence that shows a different side of the story. Maybe you didn't do well on this one test, but that doesn't mean you're bad at everything or you can't improve. There's almost always a more hopeful and realistic way to look at a situation if you take the time to think it through. After you start questioning those negative thoughts, you can work on changing the way you explain things to yourself. Instead of thinking that bad events will last forever, you remind yourself that most setbacks are temporary. Instead of believing that one bad thing ruins everything, you recognize that it's just one part of your life. And instead of blaming yourself completely, you realize that sometimes outside factors play a role too. So instead of saying, I'm terrible at everything, you might say, I didn't do well on this test, but with more practice, I can do better next time. Changing the way you think takes practice, just like learning any new skill. One helpful way to practice is by writing down your thoughts when something bad happens, and then trying to reframe them in a more positive way. Another simple trick is to use the word but when you catch yourself thinking negatively. For example, you might think, I made a mistake, but I can fix it if I keep trying. Focusing on what you can do to make things better helps you move forward instead of staying stuck. It also helps to take time to notice and appreciate the good things in life, even the small ones, because this can shift your focus from problems to possibilities. Sometimes changing how you think can be hard, and that's okay. It's important to reach out to the people you trust when you need support. Talking about what's on your mind can give you new ideas and make you feel less alone. When you keep practicing these new ways of thinking, you start to feel more in control, more hopeful, and more able to handle whatever comes your way. With time and effort, you can build a habit of seeing challenges not as the end of the story, but chances to learn, grow, and succeed. Over time, this new way of thinking doesn't just help you feel more in control. It also helps you bounce back from challenges more easily. The ability to recover and keep going is what resilience is all about. When you want to stay motivated and handle challenges better, one of the most important things you can do is build resilience and believe that you have control over your life. Resilience is not just about being tough or putting up with hard times. It's about being able to recover, learn, and grow after something difficult happens. When you are resilient, you don't let a setback define who you are. Instead, you find ways to keep moving forward. And this helps you stay strong both mentally and emotionally. A big part of resilience comes from building an internal locus of control, the belief that your actions make a real difference. When you trust that you can influence what happens next, challenges start to feel more manageable, and you find the energy to keep going even when it gets tough. If you want to be more resilient, it helps to start by recognizing the power you already have. Even if you can't control everything that happens, you can always control how you respond. When something feels overwhelming, focus on the small steps you can take. Every small action you choose builds your strength and shows you that you're not powerless. Taking action, even tiny steps, can lift your confidence and help you feel more in charge of your life. It's also important to remember that mistakes and setbacks are not signs that you're failing. They are chances to learn. When something goes wrong, you can ask yourself, what can I take from this that will help me next time? Thinking this way turns challenges into lessons instead of roadblocks. Another helpful habit is to spend more time focusing on solutions rather than just sitting with the problem. Instead of feeling stuck, you refocus your attention on finding ways to move forward, and that simple shift can make you feel stronger and more hopeful. Along the way, be kind to yourself. Everyone faces hard times and makes mistakes, and it doesn't mean you aren't good enough or strong enough. Treat yourself the way you would treat a friend who is struggling, with patience, kindness, and encouragement. When you keep practicing these habits, you start to notice some amazing changes. You may find that you feel less stressed and more able to bounce back from problems. You might get better at solving challenges because you believe you can make a difference. Over time, you also start to feel more satisfied with your life. Even when things aren't perfect, you have the power to shape your path. By trusting in your ability to take action and by choosing to see setbacks as chances to grow, you give yourself the best chance to succeed and find happiness, no matter what life brings. And when you keep practicing this way of thinking, you'll start to see the benefits show up in all kinds of areas. At work, in your health, and in your relationships too. At work, being optimistic helps you see challenges as things you can tackle, not roadblocks that stop you. When something goes wrong, you don't just throw in the towel, you keep going. You see setbacks as temporary and know you can get better with some effort. This way of thinking pushes you to take action, look for answers, and keep moving instead of getting stuck. It's not just talent or motivation that leads to success. It's believing you can push forward no matter what. Your health can also get better when you stay positive and trust that your choices matter. When you believe you're in control, you're more likely to eat well, stay active, and find ways to handle stress. Thinking this way can even help your body run better, since less stress means a healthier you. Staying positive also helps your mental health. When something bad happens, you don't automatically think it's the end of the world. You remind yourself it's just a bad moment, not a bad life. This helps you stay calmer and less overwhelmed. In your personal life, this mindset makes a huge difference too. When you believe you can work through problems and really listen to others, you're more likely to talk things out and sort through arguments without blowing up. You also tend to be more forgiving, which makes it easier to stay close to the people you care about. People naturally want to be around someone who stays hopeful and positive. you're easier to open up to, and that helps you build stronger friendships and a solid support system. Believing in yourself can make a big difference in other areas too. If you're in school, knowing you can get better with effort makes learning way less stressful. You stop stressing about being perfect and focus on growing and improving. If you're a parent, showing your kids how to stay positive and take charge teaches them how to deal with life with confidence, even on work teams or in your community. Staying hopeful and taking action can lift everyone up and bring people together. When you start seeing challenges as bumps in the road instead of dead ends and believe that your actions matter, you give yourself the power to shape your future. This mindset helps you stay strong, keep moving forward, and feel good about your life. Over time, it becomes more than just a mindset. It becomes the way you live, and it can lead to real success, stronger relationships, and more happiness.